Okay, Swapnil, thank you for being here with me today. Um, let's
Anytime.
just let's just jump straight into it. Quick introduction. Where are you from and what do you do?
I am from planet Earth. I am the CTO and co-founder of Certus Cybersecurity. Before this, I was a senior director at Visa, and I was leading embedded technologies and few other verticals within Visa itself. Along with that, I'm active on Bug Bounty program as well. I
Yeah.
was part of Verizon Media, where I hold like top 15 there. I used to hold top 15 there. And I was also part of NSA and Government of Singapore, where I hold top 10 from the bug bounty program standpoint.
NSA, I didn't know that one. I did not know about the
Yeah.
NSA one, but
Yes.
that's pretty cool. I want to jump into a speed round, which is 30 seconds per response, and then after that we can go in more depth with the questions and responses. Is that okay with you?
That works.
All right. Roughly how much have you made with Bug Bounty?
I made $789,000 in a span of 3 months.
3 months.
Yes.
That is absolutely insane. Okay, next question. The vulnerability you've exploited the most, or at least found the most, what would that be?
XXEs, SQLize, and sorry, I should explain it out. XXEs is XML entity expansion attacks.
Yeah,
SQLize SQL injection attacks, and then I also found some SSRF attacks as well, which is
SRF.
outside request forgery attacks.
Okay, SRF is pretty cool. Whenever I find it, I'm very excited. All right, another speed question. Would you rather focus on one or two vulnerabilities and get very good at finding them, or would you rather have a general knowledge of like the OS top 10 and look for each one when you're hacking on a target?
Oh, expertise. Any given day, I'll pick only
Expertise?
one. Yeah, one and like excel in that, and that's what I did even with my bug bounty as well. Just
Yeah.
focused on SQL injection. Though I would find cross-site scripting, CSRFs, I'll completely ignore them because there are many people that are already finding it. There are more chances of like duping those. SQLize, if you find it, it's out there in the wild. Critical issue for sure. You're getting $10,000 to $15,000 right away. So focus on one and like just stay there.
Okay, that's pretty cool. That's pretty good. Expertise any day, says the man. Another question for speed round. Are you currently hiring?
We are currently hiring, yes, very actively.
Okay. What's the top thing you look for when hiring for entry level roles?
Now, the top thing that I look for is their appetite to learn new things, and that's one of the key. So we do understand they will not know everything under the sun. Even we don't know. Even I don't know everything under the sun.
Yeah.
But what we're trying to see is, are they learning something new through this interview process itself? Are they their journey itself is speaks volumes for what they want to achieve?
And how would you measure? Is there a way to measure that exactly?
That's through interviews itself, man. There's no,
Interviews?
yeah, there's no matrix, unfortunately, or a yardstick that we can put it against. Yes, we found this individual has all of this capabilities itself. The easiest way is through interviews itself and through the prior experience that we have. We can see whether they're learning something new from this exercise or not.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And then the last question for the speed round. Not all of the people that watch my channel or are in my Discord server are like looking to get into cybersecurity. Some of them are already working, penetration testers, DevOps engineers, etc. What do you look for when hiring mid-level and senior engineers? Or what can someone work on to get them from that entry-level position to move on to mid-level and then senior at some point?
Yeah, how you explain your journey is the most important thing for mid or senior because you already have learned new things about penetration testing. How are you excelling into that? And as I said, we are looking for expertise, right? Even
Yeah.
during the bug bounty thing. So even during the penetration testing interviews as well, we are looking for expertise. We know you would not know everything under the sun when it comes to penetration testing. It's a very vast field. But how have you looked at one vulnerability and expanded further into that so that you are able to now give back to the community with regards to the findings that you had? That's what we're looking
Okay. Okay. The way you explain your journey, I hope you're hearing that, people. Now I want to get into a bit more depth with the answers. Maybe don't spend too much time answering the question because this is supposed to be short,
for.
but wherever you can, make it reasonable. what's like your bug bounty story? I've heard you made a lot of money, like you just said. You made about 710,000 in 3 months. How did you start, and how did you get where you are today?
So the way I started was I found a bug, a SQL injection bug in Verizon Media, and Verizon Media was just got popped. They just started their bug bounty program itself,
Yeah.
and I just stumbled upon this SQLi, and then I said, let me find if I can replicate this across various different domains. And at that given point in time, I was not enrolled into any bug bounty program. I did not even know Verizon Media bug bounty program exists. I was about to give this finding free of cost to Verizon Media, and when I reached out to them, they said, "Hey, by the way, we have a bug bounty program. Why don't you go through that? You might get something as a result of this." So
Yeah.
I filed the report, and I got $50,000 for that particular one finding because it was in 5 different domains. And I'm like, this is cool. I'm getting $50,000 just for identifying something that I already know. So I started like finding more SQLIs within different domains in Verizon Media, and I found 15 or 16. There was a domain that they had, and I took down the entire domain through SSRF, XXCs, and SQLi injection. So that's how I got into bug bounty. But my
Wait,
stay there was very short though.
at this point, were you already working as a security engineer? Had you already done like certifications, etc?
Yeah, so no certification. I still don't have certifications from a security standpoint itself. I
Yeah.
don't think certification is going to be the gold standards that anyone is looking for. It's the skills, right? Understanding the framework, understanding how you would be able to create abuse cases for that particular framework itself is more important in my eyes. And that's what I did even during my bug bounty journey as well. I was just curious about how things work. And then that curiosity, the next layer to that curiosity itself was how would I put threats associated to that framework that I already have learned about. So a good example of that is Google works in a certain way. It has a search engine. My curiosity was
Yeah.
under the hood, how does it work? What kind of an algorithm are they using for identifying relevant information? If you're looking for tardy, how does it know that it's this tardy that you're talking about? I think so, right? So that's where my curiosity kind of took better of me. I started like doing research on it, and then we create abuse cases for those things that we learned, right? And that is like the second layer to the attack. With Verizon Media, the same thing happened. I understood the framework, then I started putting the abuse cases itself, and those abuse cases started paying me money from a bug bounty standpoint.
Okay, so I had a question about what your wildest bug or hunting pentest story would be. So is that the Verizon Meteor finding like 15 domains with vulnerable to SQL injections and like SSRF and all that stuff?
Oh, that's not even the wildest one. So the wildest that I found was we were at an event from a hacker one, trying
Yeah.
to identify bugs, and I sent out a message to the endpoint itself, and that endpoint started sending me memory dump, and I was like, I am not sure why this is happening. So I did some research, and there was one person that documented things about how image magic can be used to dump memory.
Yeah.
So against this endpoint, I'm like, I know they might be using image magic in the backend itself to convert the image that I'm uploading, and then I can download the past image, so to speak, and then see what's there in the metadata itself. So I started sending some commands, and I got the private key for that particular server itself. I did the entire memory dump of the user database from that particular machine itself. Got some session tokens out, so I got let everything to pawn that particular server, and that was just through one research that I was able to do. So that was one of the wildest one that I found. It was image magic memory corruption at vulnerability itself. I got very handsomely paid for that issue too.
Bug bounty seems very exciting. Do you recommend people to get started in bug bounty if they're trying to, gain some experience, gain the skills, And how would you go about finding targets for bug bounty programs?
So my personal thing is whenever someone is doing entry level um, exercises within information security itself, bug bounty is a very good avenue for them because now the scope is defined. There are no repercussions of finding critical issues itself. So it's a very good entry point for people to learn about how other security practitioners are finding issues, what is their approach to finding issues itself, and then you can start mimicking the same thing on your end as well. So as a practice runs itself, so it's a very good training ground in my eyes. And if you want to get into security or penetration testing as a whole, the first avenue should always be learning more about bug bounty programs and how to identify bugs itself, because that gives you reputation, that also increases your skills, and that also tells you what transpires when you're doing penetration testing. So what test plans you need to provide, how you want to report it itself, how you identify finding, and how do you document all of that before you're sharing it out.
Okay, you mentioned reputation. What's your take on like CVEs? Are they important for anything else other than bragging rights or like sprucing up your resume?
So CVEs are important. At least in
Yeah.
my eyes, we should always give back to community, and CVE is a part and parcel of that, where we are as a security practitioners teaching others of how we identified certain issues that no one else have thought about before. So
Yeah.
I certainly think that CVE is a very good avenue for creating the threat intelligence in place that is required for next generation to learn more about from a testing perspective.
Okay. Now we're kind of switching lanes into more like hiring stuff. And you already touched on certifications. And you said that you'd rather have someone with skill rather than certifications. You yourself have done a lot in the security scene, even though you don't have any certifications from a security standpoint. So when you're looking for entry level roles, apart from like bug bounty, what else can someone show that they might have the skill? Like since you said certifications might not be as important.
So it's it's the curiosity, the only entry point I think so within information security itself. So whenever
Yeah.
even we are interviewing, we are looking at the curiosity part of it, right? So as long as you can demonstrate how you have been curious about certain threats, how it's executed itself, that should put your foot in the door, so to speak. And then it comes to how are you able to explain your journey of, okay, and I learned about this particular vulnerability itself, but after learning all of this, now I'm able to like do more research and better into my skills that I had like a few days ago or a week ago or a month ago. That's
Yeah.
those two go hand in hand whenever you're looking for any new roles, so to speak, within penetration testing, at least for our company. The second thing that I've seen most of the people do wrong is they're too much focused on the tool. They're too much focused on the scripts that are
Yeah.
already out there. And when we as an interviewers are looking at that, we know that the tool already exists. If you're just going to plug everything on that particular tool itself and depend on the results from the tool, I might just buy the tool instead of hiring you, right? So you need to be
Yeah. Yeah.
tool agnostic. You need to understand how tool actually works and how are you bettering your capabilities alongside with the tool itself. So I understand, like, to give you an example, SQL injections. There are within Verizon Media itself, there are so many different people that were trying to find SQL injections alongside with me, right? But I was able to find more SQL injections within Verizon Media itself is because I fine-tuned the payload based on the responses that I'm able to see on burp itself, where I know that I'm getting a 500, but I'm hitting an application as opposed to a WAV. So once I'm hitting the
Yeah.
application itself, I know what needs to be modified from a payload perspective itself, and I'll fine tune that, and then I'll put that into SQL map, and that helped me identify more SQL injections than what others would. That is completely dependent on the tool itself, completely dependent on SQL map to find issues, kind of a thing, right? So you need to have the tool go with you hand in hand. When you're interviewing, you need to like talk about that merge and how you marry it to that particular tool rather than I just use this tool because it spits out magic as others are doing as well. And that's what I'm going to do even with this job, kind of a thing.
Moving on to the next question, kind of related to hiring still. Before I was on the inside when it comes to cybersecurity, I was still looking for my first job, etc. Now that I'm on the inside, I can see how difficult it is to find talent from a hiring perspective. Why do you think that is? Why do you think it's hard for companies to find good talent to fit their specific goals and needs when there's so many people trying to get into the field?
Yeah, I think so. It's the drive to like learn new things that we see missing when we are trying to interview folks. It's also the penetration as well. So, like for example, in our company itself, when we try to interview folks, we are very much focused towards uh, their overall journey and what they want to achieve and how that maps to what we are looking for as well. What we are seeing during the interview process itself is that people are not able to articulate what they want in the future, how they want to grow, why they're trying to like get into information security itself. I think so. The articulation would help uh, them get into the companies a lot faster. Uh, the other thing itself, I think so. They when we look for entry level roles, people don't understand how much of an effort is required for doing penetration testing or threat modeling or code reviews itself. They just assume that the journey itself is just me with a hoodie uh, and in a dungeon itself that I'm just going to hack through the entire life itself. And that's not
Yeah.
what penetration test is. Uh, so when they see that there is documentation, when they see that there is scoping calls associated with it, um, they start reassessing their actual goals, and we have seen that happening as well. Because of which
Yeah.
the talent, so entry level talent is there. Mid levels are the ones that survive through entry to mid level itself, but which is smaller in size than what the entry level is, right?
Yeah,
And that's
definitely,
what we
definitely.
yeah, that's what we have seen.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that there's a lot less mid-level, senior, and then principal and CISOs. Well, that also just depends. That's also just based on the fact that it is more difficult, and I think that the training that is out there gives a false narrative of what actual people, of what people actually do on the job. For example, I didn't know that there would be as many scoping and pre-kickoff calls before an actual engagement until I actually started working and shadowing engagements. Quick question: does the fact that you might not trust someone have anything to do with hiring, considering compliance and customer data and all that? Do you recommend people show their faces, have at least a picture on like their LinkedIn profile, etc.?
It's an optional thing.
Yeah,
We are in a remote situation at this given point in time, starting the pandemic itself. We all prefer working remotely, right? And it's very little interaction that we have. So that's why we recommend having some sort of FaceTime so we know the person itself. But having LinkedIn profile or turning on the camera itself is completely optional in my eyes. Um, so it should not deter getting a role in my eyes.
okay. Still on hiring, would you rather hire someone who was headhunted, a referral from another employee, or someone that applies from your website? What's like the difference when looking into those people?
Yeah, so I think so. The only differentiating factor is how quickly we would respond back to that individual itself. That's the only difference. Because if it's coming from a referral, we know that it's a known entity itself. We would be faster in responding back. So be it headhunter, be referral, internal referrals itself. So we would be a lot faster in just responding back to them for the first round of interview. When it's coming from an online resource itself, there's there's some reconnaissance that has been done on the individual itself to understand
Yeah.
what background they are coming from, what skill sets that they have. So it takes a little longer for us to like start that first round. But once they start the first round itself and the journey that they take after that till the last cultural round that we have, the journey itself is going to be same. It's not going to be different for whether whatever source they're coming in from. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Sorry about that. And then kind of like what you did to be successful in cybersecurity, of which success is relative. Should someone, look for a job, get experience, etc., keep working and moving up the corporate ladder, or should they like go do bug bounty and then start their own consulting company?
Yeah, for the entry level itself, I each people take their own journey, and I
Yeah.
understand that completely. But what I've seen most productive is that put yourself in the shoes of a penetration tester first and see what the journey looks like. And if you like that journey itself, then you can pursue for long-term job within penetration testing itself. And if you don't like the work itself, because it's very similar to bug bounty itself in certain ways, and if you don't like it, then you might think about switching over to other facets within information security, like compliance is what we talked about. Cyber defense is another. Code reviews, threat modeling is another, right? So it gives you like a taste of what you're getting into, and I strongly believe that that should be the first step, because once you get like committed to a full-time job from a penetration tester itself and you don't like it, then you're not going to survive there for long, right? Which is not good for you, not good for business. So it makes sense for people to like just recalibrate based on bug bounty programs.
On that note, on not being able to survive in a place for too long, what's your take on job hopping for either for just changing orientation and changing on what you want to focus on, or for monetary reasons?
Hands down on skills, and the same has been true for me as well. So I don't want to chase money more so. Money will chase you if you have talent. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Uh, so I would focus on creating your own brand in some way. And giving back to the community itself, and you'll see things would fall in place with regards to the titles, with regards to the salary expectations itself. But the first important thing is you need to demonstrate your technical skills itself if others are validating it more so than you yourself thinking that I have achieved everything in the world.
Okay, that's a good take. And then I have one last question from my Discord server. He was asking, what does the future of red teaming in aerospace, commercial or military satellite infrastructure look like? If you have any knowledge on that.
We do play in that space, but I I don't have any commentary on that, to be honest.
Okay. All right. Well, that is all my questions. If you have something you'd like to say, this is the time for it. And then we'll end on that note.
The only thing that I'll state out is we are learning from community itself, and I think that the community has given us lots of opportunity to like learn about all the different avenues of information security. Keep sharing it back to the community as much as you could.
All right. Swapnil's links for social media will be in the description below. You can connect with him, chat with him if he actually does respond. This man is very busy, so it was hard to get him on here. But thank you very much, Swapnil, for being here. I'm pretty sure you have another meeting in like 5 minutes. So appreciate the time. You have a good day.
You too, Tari. Have a good one. Take care.